Who edited the podcast? If they really fear VDM this much, why did they not do the needful when editing the podcast? Why now put it all on Nedu that he needs to face his realities? Who edited the podcast? Was it Nedu or it was Glitch Africa? So, guys, Glitch Africa has come out with a publication saying that Nedu Wazobia temporarily stepped down from the Honest Bunch podcast. Information reaching us is that before Nedu wrote what he wrote on his Instagram, they had a meeting and they told Nedu, they gave him two options. It's either he resign or they will do it for him. Now Nedu chose to make the post and resign because Glitch Africa said some of their sponsors have come out and said if they don't fire Nedu, they are not going to work again with them as partners because they don't want to get involved with VDM's trouble. Now, let me read what Cutie Juice said. Guys, take out time because this video is going to be a little bit lengthy and I have so much to say. Let us listen to what I'm about to read here. Now, this is it. So last night, social media was hit with news of media personality Nedu Wazobia resigning as host of popular podcast, The Honest Bunch. Omo, so many things led to this development, of which some are very worrying. We confirmed Glitch Studio, the executive producers of the Honest podcast, summoned Nedu to a meeting over the trending issues with VDM, which started when comedian D1 went on the show as a guest and said Verydarkblackman is Gabriel. The producers gave Nedu an option to quit and put out a statement of resignation, or they will have to put out a statement that Nedu has been taken off as the host of the show, and also told Nedu that they had come to a decision where they need to protect their brand and sponsors from getting dragged or entering into any online brouhaha with Verydarkblackman. This come as a shock because Honest Podcast isn't a live program, like I said before. Pay attention. This come as a shock because Honest Podcast isn't a live program and all editing done by the Glitch Studios. So since they were so afraid of Verydarkblackman, then they should have done the needful or editing the part where D1 said VDM is Agege. Also, does it mean that anytime VDM has a beef with an employee of a company, the company gets to dismiss that employee in order to avoid any issue with Verydarkblackman? That's Cutie Juice asking all these questions. This is getting serious, very serious. I'm not in support of Nedu's cho-cho-cho. Glitch Studio has quoted to have said some of the sponsors of the Bunch podcast show had already reached out that Nedu should be fired and taken off the show, or they will be forced to pull off their sponsorship as they don't want to risk their reputation of their companies and brands to any issues with Verydarkblackman, to avoid their brand names being dragged by Verydarkblackman in future and now online. It's sad because I understand the whole idea of this podcast was birthed by Nedu, who approached Glitch Studios with his ideas. Glitch Studios bought into the idea and accepted to come on board as executive producers who will fund and produce the show. So Nedu has the idea but didn't have the money to fund it. Now he has been fired, and the only reason is the company cannot afford to have any issues with Verydarkblackman. That's coming from Kitty Juice. Now, Nedu said he has resigned. Few hours later, Glitch Africa has come out to say Nedu temporarily stepped back. This is the publication they have made. So, which one are we going to believe? Nedu resigned or Nedu stepped back? Are they begging Nedu already? Now, this is what Glitch Media wrote in their publication. Announcement: Nedu temporarily stepped down from the Honest Bunch podcast. Recently, there have been discussions and allegations involving our co-host, Nedu. While these matters remain personal, we recognize the importance of accountability and allowing individuals the space to address such issues properly. In light of this, the Honest Bunch podcast and Nedu have decided that he takes a temporary step back from the podcast to focus on resolving these matters. This decision was made in mutual agreement and with the best interest of all parties in mind. We fully support him during this time and look forward to his return in due course. As always, the Honest Bunch podcast remains committed to delivering unfiltered, thought provoking conversations. We appreciate the continued support from our listeners and assure you of more exciting content in the weeks ahead. Thank you for being part of our journey. So, Nedu said he has resigned, but Glitch Africa is saying that he has temporarily stepped back so that he can solve his social media wahala with Verydarkman and with D1. That is the update. So, who are we going to believe right now? Do you think this was something for Nedu to even resign? He should just man up and say whatever he wants to say, defend himself like he did when it happened to Yvonne Jegede. When Yvonne Jegede came to the Honest Bunch podcast, she said something about May Doche that didn't sit well with May's fans. They came for her and she come out and apologized at the end of the day. Nedu came out and said Yvonne should face her front and accept whatever she said on that podcast. Let us be realistic. If someone calls you their friend, if you say this person is my person, there are certain things you cannot allow them say in your presence. Now, if Glitch Africa is coming out to say Nedu stepped out only, and then they are still telling us that Nedu had to resign because he need to solve his problems. Who edited the podcast? If they really fear VDM this much, why did they not do the needful when editing the podcast? Why now put it all on Nedu that he needs to face his realities? Who edited the podcast? Was it Nedu or it was Glitch Africa? That is where the question is. I rest my case.